The Kaminoans are famously the creators of the clone troopers, using the template of the bounty hunter Jango Fett, creating a near-perfect army loyal to the Grand Army of the Republic, and loyal more specifically to Palpatine and secretly the Lords of the Sith. The Kaminoans attempted to instill their own values within the clones, with the Kaminoans wanting them to conduct themselves more like droids than actual living beings. Because of the template though, and because of the fact that they were alive and were human, they did develop their own culture, and respect and even love for one another. Brothers in arms against the CIS and the Separatist forces. As many of the first few batches were trained by Mandalorians, they actually adopted much of Mandalorian culture, teaching a lot of the clone troopers to think more freely, a trait that many of the Kaminoan cloners did not like in these first batches of clones. However, the Kaminoans could not do away with them, as the clones directly trained by Mandalorians, such as Captain Rex and the clone commandos, proved to be some of the most rounded soldiers and efficient killers and combatants that the Republic had ever seen. On the battlefield, millions upon millions of clone troopers would meet their end, as unfortunately they were designed to do. Although it was not a specific order, the clone troopers made it a deal amongst themselves that they would attempt to retrieve as many clone bodies as possible, and began actually burying their brothers in arms, placing their blasters above their grave, and using the clone's very helmet as a sort of tombstone. This was a practice that the Kaminoans began to highly dissuade, as if a clone could actually retrieve a fallen brother's body, they wanted the body brought back to Kamino fully armored, in order to cremate the trooper, ensuring that the cloning process could remain as secretive as possible, essentially making sure that the Kaminoans were some of the few individuals in the galaxy who had perfected the cloning process. Far more grotesque than even this, the clone armor was more important to the Kaminoan cloners than the fallen clone troopers' bodies themselves, as producing clone armor was expensive, and the Kaminoans wanted to thoroughly clean the armor and then place them on a brand new clone trooper, in order to minimize cost, as producing all of that clone armor was highly expensive. Once a lot of the normal clone troopers became aware of this process of recycling their brothers, and throwing their remains in the garbage like trash, they made it a point not to bring very many clone bodies back to the cloners, and to bury them a lot of times in their armor, placing their helmet above their grave as a tombstone, a popularized practice among the clones. The clone troopers being allowed to keep their helmets in death symbolized that they were individuals and had their own individual identity and personality. They were not droids that could simply be mass produced. They were their own individuals with feelings, emotions, and they differed greatly from one another, something that many Jedi and the clones noticed within themselves. Especially as the Clone Wars raged on, the clones became far more individualistic than they had been in the earlier days of the war. Many clone commandos actually adopted the burial ceremony of the Mandalorians, again being trained directly by the Mandalorians themselves. They would cremate the body while holding hands with the remaining commandos and members of their squad, chanting in Mandalorian as their brothers' bodies entered the next world. Although this was a practice that was seemingly exclusive to the clone commandos, and many of the other clone troopers held ceremonies of burying their brothers normally. But anyway, my friends, this is just why the Kaminoans actually hated for the clone troopers to have funerals, and the clone trooper practice of burying and in some cases cremating their brothers, as well as what the Kaminoans would do so dispassionately with the fallen members of the Grand Army of the Republic. But what are your guys' thoughts on this, and had you heard about this before this video? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button, may the force be with you, and have a great day.